Hey there, YouTube. We're back. Married at First Sight, episode 9. So, I'm going to go ahead and start off with Morgan and Ben. They did the mermaid date. Didn't quite understand, what that, was going on. Um, they're still disconnected. I can see that they're trying. Ben did the what was it? The Korean barbecue, something barbecue, where they have the little mini cooker, and he ended up setting the fire alarm, off. I was kind of confused about Morgan coming home and just eating in her scrubs. That was confusing. You know what I mean? Another thing that was kind of confusing to me is at the, towards the end when they were talking with the expert. She was saying to Ben that he doesn't, compliment her. He doesn't tell her she's pretty and, this, that, and the third. And I could have swore that Morgan had on tennis shoes under her wedding dress. Okay, so that's number one. And then number two, she set up and for her wedding pictures, did like this ghetto pose, like she was some kind of rap star, and her and Ben, split his pants, stooping down to her thing that she wanted to do, for their pictures. And then when she's in front of the expert, she's like, yeah, well, he's not treating me, girly. And then he was like, oh, I told you look something today. I don't know what his vernacular was, and I don't care. But she was like, I'm not your homeboy, I'm your wife, treat me. But I'm like, okay, Morgan, so you can't have it both ways. You can't be the Muay Thai woman who breaks your friend's teeth out. And okay, we're gonna do this dope, pose, for our wedding pictures. And then you want to be treated like a girly girl. Girl, okay. That's sending some real mixed signals, and I actually don't appreciate that. I can't. I couldn't even get with the shoes. I mean, she could have just wore ballerina slippers. She didn't even have to wear heels. But tennis shoes, I mean, and then you mad because, he treating you, like, okay, what's up? Dude, that's the way you're presenting yourself, Morgan. And so I'm just, and I'm going to go ahead and say it now. So if I remember stuff after the fact with them, I'll just add it in. She said at the end of the episode, she was walking out and she told Ben, oh, yeah, I talked to Alexis. So we get to find out, what that whole thing is about. And so he seemed like he was confused and, I don't know what she's talking about. So, one of the things that happened with all of the couples is that they got a box, and the question was the same for everybody. Have you been in love? And one of the things I do remember with their conversation is that Ben was saying that he had never been in love, and he was talking about a difficult, situation where he ran into somebody with some potential, but he had so many complications. He had a real close death. His dad got sick. He had complications that kind of prevented them from being able to grow, the relationship. And so with Morgan, she was saying that she had met, someone, but, it was the wrong time. And I actually can identify, with what she's talking about. One of the few times that I've actually, had a connection, it was the wrong time. It was just wrong time. So that's the way life is, sometimes. So, okay. Oh, and I remember her talking to her friend, and, like, the advice is for her to feel what she's feeling, still power through, and grow. And that we all have to remember that growth, is really painful. So let's look at Nate and Stasha. So, Nate is confusing, to me. He really honestly is. They were in the pool. They had gotten a question they got the question that everybody, is gonna get. And so Sasha was asking him, well, where do we fit? Where is the love meter, for you? And then he said like a 4. And she was like, a 4? And he was like, yeah, well, I'm kind of, under saying, understating where I am so they could give us room to grow. But a couple, like, what? Some days ago, Nate, when y'all was on y'all's honeymoon, I could have swore you said that you were falling in love with her. So you can't go from I'm falling in love with you to all the way down to a 4 and then think that you're going to be looked at as consistent. Because if I was Stasha, I would have had even more of a problem than she actually did during this episode. And it seemed like the more that she was talking about it, or trying to get him to talk about it, the madder or the more annoyed that he was getting. And he was like, he feels like she's being manipulative. I thought that was really far because they don't really know each other that well for him to use that word. That is too strong of a word because some people could think that Nate is being manipulative. Because like I just said, you can't say that you're falling in love. She gonna remember that. It's not like she gonna forget you told her this. And then now you're trying to act like it was something that didn't come out of your mouth. So that's inconsistent. And it makes me kind of look at it as a power struggle. That's what I felt with him and her during this episode. I felt power struggle. And I felt him trying to use some of the information that he's gotten from her to kind of put himself in a better position so that, he doesn't feel like he's trying to play catch up with what she's got going on. And so one of the things that they were talking about when the expert, was talking to them is, she was saying she felt alone. She felt, disconnected. It was how she was feeling in relationship to that he's really not. She doesn't feel like he's opening up, all the way to her. And in his mind, he's thinking he's doing all this stuff and she's still not getting it. So I think he's used to that when he puts this full frontal on, when he's doing that full court press, then, the ladies, they pick up on it. And he doesn't feel like Stasha is picking up what he's laying down in a fast enough manner. And in the manner that he thinks that he's giving it out. So he's telling her, then, we're not going to work if you can't trust that what I'm showing you is who I am. And I thought that she took that, really well, considering how I would have taken it. I thought that when they were in the kitchen, he was cooking and, you playing devil's advocate, like, you can play that too far, and then now you're being manipulative. See, that would have been like, yeah. And that whole conversation at the end, when he was like, well, you got emotion out of me. You wanted emotion, so now you got emotion. Are you happy? That wasn't emotion. That was not emotion. I'm still waiting to see some real emotion out of Nate. I'm talking about some unscripted, He's not... He even forgot that he's in front of the camera, Nate. That's the one I want to see. And, I think that would be healthy for both of them because I don't think we saw some of Stasha start to come out when she was finna dive into Miguel before the mariachis, showed up. So we kind of got cut off from that level of unscripted, Stasha. But I think for both of them, it is something for them to be able to express themselves. I think to a certain extent, most people have up to, a point. Miguel and Stasha and Nate, I think, are three that still need to kind of, tap into that level of emotion that we haven't, seen, up to this point. So, yeah, I just wasn't impressed with his, number 4. So, he says that he's trying to go, Nate says he's trying to go with his gut. I don't know what that means, either. Um, and when he was in front of the therapist, he was trying to really paint this picture that I felt wasn't true, and I haven't heard anybody else call him out, on this. He was saying, "Oh, well, I've thought about going to therapy, and I told her, and that's not good enough," because she's saying that him going to therapy is a future action that she appreciates, but that's a future action. She wants to see what he's going to do day to day. Those kind of efforts, those little small efforts. And Nate wasn't thinking about therapy um, before the honeymoon. And if I could put a clip of that, I will. I hope I'm reminded, to put a clip, of that, there. So yeah, I mean, he's just being really ridiculous. Um, so I said it was power. So yeah, she has financial power, and so he's gonna try to get emotional power, and that's what I felt, you know, just looking at that whole situation. Even with the cooking, class, I thought that that was just a moment for Stasia to just enjoy the energy, between them, and not always try to bring that conversation, up. And so, but the producers can be kind of extra and trying to push a narrative. So we always have to remember that these segments are chopped up, and even though I think that they're giving us the full story in the clip, these are still moments of time that they're piecing together, and we just have to keep that, in mind when we're thinking about it. So we'll see, what happens in the next episode with their conversation around this subject. And as far as we know, at this point, they still haven't consummated the marriage. Um, and Stasia was like, "Oh, well, at the end, I don't know. It was like, going to be this big deal." No, Stasia, you've been talking about this all episode. It's a big deal. So I don't like that inconsistency, from her. And then she was saying to him, too, "Well, if you don't feel like you love me by the end of the experiment, then okay, but it really would be nice, if you did love me." And I mean, she was like really back and forth instead of just being plain. I don't like that. And that's when it causes confusion. And with a dude like Nate, you can't have ambiguity in your conversation. You've got to be direct, and it has to have a period, not a comma, at the end of what you're talking about. Because he'll take that comma and he'll do something else with it. So, I want her to be, real clear about her conversation, with Nate. And the thing I also want to kind of highlight too is that, both of them are really into finance, and they want to do this power couple thing, and they want to build financial wealth and generational wealth, which is all fine, well, and good. Because black people, that's a deficit in our community. So I totally get it. My problem is that when you try to mix love and money, that's a bad mix. It's a bad mix. And if if anything has the ability to derail them, whether it's on the show or in the future, it's how they deal and feel about money. That is going to really, that's going to determine a lot, because you can still be, that both of them could be highly successful and still grow apart, from each other. So I don't know. I don't know. That's up in the air with me. I feel like this money thing can really turn out to be more of a poison pill than it is something, that is beneficial. So, like I say, if something comes up with them and when I'm talking, I'll just fold it in. So let's look at Christian and Mitch. So with the love question, um, Christian told Mitch that yeah, she's fallen in love, way more, she's sure, than he has. And Mitch said that yeah, he's never been in love, so he doesn't have anything to really compare what she's saying to. It's just he has to take her word that she's been in love. And she told him about her previous engagement. So that actually counts. I mean, if you are to the point, especially where she was, that you want to get married to somebody, there is love is a serious word. It should be a serious word. It should be something serious to take it, to that level. So I'll give Christian, that. But I mean, the times that she's saying that she was in love, was that really love? That's my question, to her. And so, what is it? Oh, yeah. So we had Shirtgate. Shirtgate is Mitch being ridiculous about wearing a shirt that the wives were playing on the husbands as a little joke. They all got their husbands the same shirt, and Mitch freaking out about plastic buttons and this is not something I would normally wear, and okay, I'll wear it for 5 minutes and then I'm gonna just put on what I want to put on. And the expert asked him, she was like, okay, well, it's just a shirt, what? And I might, and okay, Mitch, we know you're your own man and you're an environmentalist and you're serious about the earth. Well, I didn't ask her to buy me, and I don't, buy people things they don't ask for, and, things they don't want. And it was so exhausting. It really was so exhausting. And it's like you listen to him and you look at him and you're like, Mitch, do you really think that you're going to be able to do better than what you have in front of you right now? You mean to tell me that you're going to be willing to compromise? The compromise that you should be willing to do right now, you're going to be willing to do that with somebody in the future. But you can't even convince yourself to do it right now. It's just insane. And he admitted in the beginning, I think either at the wedding or before the wedding, that this is his best chance. This is his best chance to be a husband to somebody, because he's never going to meet anybody that he's going to ask to marry them. I just can't see it. There's just nobody alive that he's going to meet in this lifetime that's going to put up with all of his B and half of his S, and that he's going to feel comfortable enough to say, I want you to be my wife. It's never going to happen. And Mitch just needs to go ahead and grow up and just stop, being ridiculous and just meet people, what they are. He knows he was in the world trying to be of the world when he decided, okay, I can't live this way anymore. I've got to tell my truth and I've got to be the environmentalist, that I am. He knows that people have a difficulty with being in his headspace. So he can still educate people and still try to help people move to where he is at the same time. It's like trying to eat a whale in one bite versus trying to chop it up into little pieces and eat it that way. I mean, only one way is going to be more successful than the other one, Mitch. And it's like, he's 41 and he hasn't figured this out yet. I mean, okay. So where is it? I think that when Christian was outside with the expert, I thought she did really well in communicating, how she felt about Shirtgate. while still trying to give him space that, okay, he did do this level of compromise. That's appreciated. However, this is where I am as an individual. And that's, again, one of the things I appreciate about her versus Katina is that at least she's expressing herself. Katina just sat there and just let a large one just walk all over her and treat her like a rag doll. And it was really triggering. Yeah, if I were to ever meet them in person, I'm not lying. I would tell both of them exactly what I think of them, which is absolutely nothing. And I'm doing really well not to be cursing right now because that that sent me to a place I don't appreciate going on this show. All right. So, one of the things that they did talk about, Christian and Mitch, earlier, before they got to the, part with the expert, is that they did see, some compatibility, within them. The other thing that kind of disturbed me about Mitch is, and I've been there, so it's like I can't completely come down on him because she was talking about flipping houses, and in the future she wants to be able to do that level of investment, and it was something that he was against because as an environmentalist he also sees the detriment that capitalism is doing to us as a people and to the earth. And the housing market is one of those problems where you're having corporations or rich people buying up properties, fixing them up, and pricing people out of those houses and using them for things like Airbnbs and, things like that. You've got places in the country that can't even survive anymore. I mean, because the workers in the area don't have places that they can stay in order to keep the restaurants and stuff open for the rich people who have the houses in the area. So you got all these properties, that are there and available, but the workers in the town, like I said, for the restaurants and the grocery store or whatever, they don't have anywhere to stay. This one guy was living out of his truck, going to work. And the one owner of a establishment has properties that she's trying to rent out, to her workers, but she's also trying to make money off the properties at the same time. So this is where capitalism, goes. You can't have it both ways. You can't own all the properties and then want to have businesses and then not have places for your workers to stay so that you can open up and have a business. It just does. There has to be some middle ground. And capitalists don't, they have a real special way of thinking about life and the things that surround us, including the air that you breathe and the water that you drink. So, and the land that we all rely on in order to get our food from. So they want to saturate the earth with oil pipelines and things, like that, and let it, leach into our water. And I don't know where they think that they're going to get water from. I don't understand that. I mean, if it has oil in the water, now you're going to have to pay to have the oil processed out of the water, and who's going to be able to pay for that? When you can just go ahead and do the right thing, and all of us can have water. Okay, so Justin and Alexis. Justin talked about his experience being in love, and he said that, he was a people pleaser. And so he did what she wanted, even if he, disagreed, with it or didn't want to do it. And so I can't remember what Alexis, we know that Alexis had been proposed to 3 times. And there was something, she said, going on with her that had to come back to her, that the way she looked at love and what she thought love was supposed to look like is not what love is. So now she's in this place where she's trying to redirect. She's trying to redirect that. So even though her thing with Justin is, if we were just dating and I'd gone through the honeymoon experience with you and then had to do this complete flip flop with Newton with you and you not being able to fully communicate yourself, she said, yeah, I wouldn't have, yeah, I'd be gone. And when when she asked him, that question, he said that, yeah, he think that he would still be in in it, even with all of the problems. So that's like a disconnect, right there. And then when he was talking with the expert toward the end of the episode, Justin was really not being coherent. And so I know a lot of people probably would have a problem with the way that Alexis, was communicating herself. I mean, not communicating herself, but the faces, that she was making. I actually could understand that because he wasn't making any sense. So he cries at the drop of a hat. And he's up here giving all of this conversation as if he's not that. So what he was saying wasn't congruent. And that's why with her, I could understand it, because she's the one that has to sit there and be patient with him through whatever emotions he's going through, whether it's anger or sadness or frustration. Because his tears are different. They're different tears. So just because he's crying doesn't mean that he's crying for the same reasons. Like when he was crying with Pastor Cal with the whole Newton situation, I saw him being angry, and I saw him being sad, and I saw him being frustrated, with himself, with the situation, with Maya. It was like a whole thing. And he couldn't say it in the words, so his tears were part of that communication. So I understand, where he's coming from, with his tears. But yeah, man, you need to just go ahead and own up. You need to, just stop trying to sugar. You on TV. So it's not like we can't see, what's going on with you when you're doing all of this crying. Because I've only seen him step up in the candy store. And that was the wrong time. Justin showed up at the wrong time. He was trying to stand up for himself, and he just really came off no. And when he was arguing with her about vomiting, the dog vomiting, to him feeding, the dog medication anyway, he was trying to defend himself, and he still didn't sound strong. So he wasn't crying at that moment. His communication still wasn't what it needed to be in the moment. So he's really off in how he's able to express himself. And I don't know how he's going to be able to bring this back together. When he was on the after show, he was talking and he was saying that he didn't think that Alexis, was really into the marriage, and, he felt like she wasn't ready, and it was really kind of disparaging. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy that he would have this now. So it really kind of makes me wonder, when is the after show being recorded? Is it being recorded as the episodes are going on, like, a couple of weeks in, then they come and start doing the after show taping? Or is it something that is happening as we're looking at it now? You see, I'm kind of confused. I need to educate myself about when the after show is actually being taped. So, yeah, he asked her, because she said when they were talking, Alexis said that when they were talking, that when she's in love, that it's hard for her to fall out of love. And Justin was like, well, can you tell me, how you're feeling about your love for me. And she was like, yeah, no. Nah, bruh. Can't talk about it right now. So I have to do Lindy and Miguel. Where are you guys? Where are you guys? I don't have Lindy and Miguel. What is going on? I do remember part of Lindy and Miguel. Miguel was talking with his friend that he was talking to earlier when he was giving Lindy these glowing remarks. And his friend was like, yeah, man, she came and talked to me and my girl, and she was talking about this insurance thing, and it was kind of crazy. He said, are you making sure that you keep your eyes open and your senses, your spidey senses, open for red flags? And Miguel was like, yeah, I'm still, because she kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting, that to show up. And he was saying to Lindy that, that's not his jam. Look, if you're going to be crazy, then yeah, I'm not going to hang around for crazy. And her thing is, well, I should get to be crazy, and then you get to give me grace for my crazy if I apologize for it, and just, keep doing this whole love thing, stay on the train. And Miguel is like, yeah, no, that's not the life I'm trying to live. And Lindy is trying to find a way so that she could be crazy and that she could be able to keep Miguel at the same time. And she's understanding that that's not going to be an option, for her. And I do remember when she was talking with the expert, one of the things that she was saying is that she actually monitors herself because she doesn't want to have an outburst. And then he used that as a reason as to why he doesn't want to stay in a marriage. And so Miguel was like, oh, okay, so that's interesting because she's showing that she can have restraint. She can do something with her mouth. She knows how to put some kind of muzzle on it so that she is appropriate, when she talks to him. And I actually appreciate, that because I don't allow people to disrespect me verbally or physically. If you say something and it's inappropriate, I won't say, it just depends on how you catch me. Because the quieter I am, the deadlier I am. And I won't say a word. But guess what? You will never be able to say another word to me either. And I won't say nothing. I'll let you figure it out. So, when I don't say anything, when you figure out that I'm done, it's not going to be anything that's going to be nice. Because I'm going to let you figure it out. So, is there anything else with Lindy and Miguel? I'm sure that they had a date. I can't remember what the date was. I don't remember what their date was. But I did remember that part, of their conversation. I thought that the expert that they had, I think her name is Pia, I thought she was cool. She seemed to, be able to hold their attention and to be able to give them some feedback about the information, that she got. And one of the things with Stacia and Nate is, Nate was calling Stacia out because she was saying, well, I told her that to give her context of, from the honeymoon all the way up until now, my feelings, all the way through. And he said, no, you said, this is how I feel. He said there was a present tense. It wasn't a past present tense. It was present tense. So I thought that was interesting, that he picked up on that. If I missed anything, I'll try to pick it up, on the next video. I appreciate you guys. And until next time.